In this video, we will learn how to overcome our fears using the timeless teachings of Stoic philosophy. In particular, we will dive into 3 key techniques to overcome fear. These techniques were used by Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Roman emperors and ancient philosophers. It will be wise to heed the advice of Marcus Aurelius, as he was well known for remaining composed and exercising great wisdom even in the face of great danger. So with that said, let's get right into it. Now, technique number 1 is decatastrophizing our fears. Now, the Stoics were taught to constantly ask themselves, what's the worst that can happen? This form of contemplation helped Marcus Aurelius himself envision future catastrophes with a sense of preparedness before they happened. By facing our fears every day in our mind in small doses, the Stoics tell us that we are building an armor for our mind. According to Marcus Aurelius, the ultimate goal when faced with great danger or fear was to remain composed and exercise wisdom. Now, in the modern day, we can put this advice into practice by consciously choosing to set aside 5 minutes every day to visualize our worst fears coming true. This form of negative visualization in tiny doses can have a powerful effect in preparing us to face our fears when they do come. Now, Marcus Aurelius also had the following to say about his fears. This is not a misfortune, but rather to bear this nobly is good fortune. So that being said, that's technique number 1, which is decatastrophizing our fears. Now, technique number 2 is the Stoic reserve clause. Now, the Stoic reserve clause is a fear-beating technique Marcus talks about multiple times when writing to himself in his book, The Meditations. The idea of the Stoic reserve clause is to face your fears while knowing that not everything is in your control. It's called a reserve clause because our expectations are reserved for what is within our control. It can be thought of as saying fate permitting or God willing. The idea here is that when you face a dangerous or scary situation, you go into it with the attitude that you will do whatever you can and that fate permitting or God willing, the outcome will be in your favor, but it's not entirely up to you. By accepting that we only control our actions, we treat the obstacle or source of fear as merely something that is out of our sphere of control and not worth worrying about. This reserve clause adds a sense of calm acceptance to our fears. As the saying goes, do what you must, let happen what may. So that's technique number 2, the Stoic reserve clause. Now, the last technique to overcome our fear is cognitive distancing. Now, the Stoics believe that it's not things that upset us, but our judgment about things. The way in which we respond to our environment or our fears is what truly matters, and that no matter the fear or the obstacle, it is our perception that labels the event as scary and not the event itself. Therefore, by that logic, we have the power to consciously perceive every fear or obstacle as an opportunity for growth. The lesson here is that events or fears isn't necessarily what upsets us, but our perception of them that does. By understanding this, we can begin to decatastrophize our fears and choose to move past whatever we are encountering with a sense of tranquility. So there you have it then. That is how we overcome our fears using the teachings of Marcus Aurelius and Stoic philosophy. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and share. Oh, and if you're interested in more Marcus Aurelius or just Stoic content in general, consider subscribing. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.